let's take a look at the lesson that I'll be observing. In particular, what goals and objectives do you have for the students for this lesson?
So my content objectives are will be able to gather relevant information from print and summarize or paraphrase by writing notes using highlighting and underlining.
Okay. And why did you choose this content area for the lesson?
I chose this content area because it hits on two things. One, it's getting them ready for science on the CASP test and learning those subjects about matter and energy. But more importantly, it's really focusing on gathering that relevant information from print for when we do informative writing, which we'll be doing this trimester.
Okay. What prior knowledge do students have about this subject?
So when it comes to gathering relevant information from print, it's a skill we've been practicing throughout the year in different content areas. But for matter specifically, students have done science experiments already on the transfer of matter, and we've had a lot of class discussions about that and how to identify the key information.
All right. Is this something that students enjoy doing quite a bit, like the matter unit?
Students definitely enjoy the matter unit. I would say they enjoy less doing the highlighting and annotating.
Yeah. So that might be a good way to get them engaged, is because you're focusing on something that they're already really excited about. So I think that's a really good idea. What products will students be producing? So what will their student work look like?
So they have an ELA workbook that they'll be doing the underlining and the key details writing in the margins there. Okay. That will be one product. And then at the end of the lesson, I'm going to have them use a journal prompt to respond about what they read using the main ideas and key details they wrote down.
Okay, excellent. For your student demographics, can you give me a little bit of information about them?
Yeah, about half my students are emergent bilinguals, and so they're learning English alongside the content. Yeah. And also, I believe, a majority of boys in my classroom. And for my students, a lot of the time they struggle with focus in a lesson, especially if it goes too long. So I really like to work on making sure we have partner, think, pair, share times and other engagement activities. So it's not just a lecture, that entire lesson. Anything else you want to know about them?
For your EL students, do you have any support set up in class? Do you have any BIA support or parent involvement, volunteers?
Definitely, I have BIA support in the classroom, and sometimes I move a small group of my newcomers back so they can be more support during the ELA lesson. And I also use a lot of visuals to help.
Excellent. Okay. For those visuals, do you use any technology or any other resources for that?
I use the Promethean board, and I use that to model my underlining, and so I can expand so students can see more clearly what I'm doing.
Excellent. All right. Let's take a look at the CSTPs.
All right.
What do you feel is a strength in your teaching that we might be able to focus in on for your CSTPs?
A strength. I feel like one strength in the CSTPs would be my collecting and analyzing the assessment data from a variety of sources to inform instruction. So in this lesson I have their ELA workbook, but I also have the journal entry that I can quickly glance over to see what they gathered from the lesson. So I think that's one area we could focus on as a strength for me, having two data points to kind of triangulate how students are doing.
What about goals that you're working on in your instructional practice?
I feel like one goal for my classroom is establishing and maintaining those learning environments that are physically, intellectually, and emotionally safe. Okay. And for me, that really means making a space where students feel like they can be heard and speak and not be afraid that someone is going to yell over them or trample their thinking.
Okay. Because earlier I did hear you say that students sometimes lose focus if the lesson goes on too long, and so making sure that students can stay focused and stay safe and engaged during the lesson is really important for you.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So with that in mind, what teaching standard seems to best align with your professional goals right now?
Probably standard 2, creating and maintaining effective environments for student learning. And that would be especially 2.3.
2.3. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about your growth in that area, what you would like me to observe and give you feedback on specifically.
I would love feedback on how to intervene with students who are maybe disrupting the learning environment. And I feel like I have a lot of positive praise for my students who are doing well, but if you could also monitor to see if I'm really doing that and making sure to recognize those students who are doing an excellent job maintaining that environment, that would be awesome.
So I heard you say that you give a lot of positive praise. What other specific teaching strategies do you do to practice moving yourself towards that CSTP?
I feel like the use of Class Dojo helps me move there, so a token economy and group points to kind of unite the students to want to work together to make that safe environment. And then I also do call and response with usually clapping, so I'm never speaking over students, I just clap rather than call out for them.
Right. That's a great strategy. Hey, so I want to give you a little bit of information on the coaching and the observation process. Here's the tool that I'll be using for that observation process. It's very similar to what our admin use when they're coming in with the glows and grows pieces, and I'll also be focusing in specifically on that standard that you had chosen. This observation is completely non-evaluative, and I also won't be doing any coaching during this observation. I'll just be here to observe and to take notes so that I can give you feedback on the areas that we spoke about. I'll also be recording the observation so that you can look over it before we have our post-observation meeting and discuss what you see and what you would like to grow in further.
Sounds great.
So I'll be in your class for about 40 minutes, and I'll just be here to help best support you in your goals. Is there anything in particular that you want me to focus in on during that 40-minute time?
I think just hitting that 2.3 CSTP standard is really going to capture what I want to focus on.
Excellent. Well, thank you for meeting with me today.
Of course.